If you can't reach an agreement along the way, a judge is going to ride in at the end and say, I've heard all of this. This is what's happening to the house. This is what's happening. You lose control. The most important things is, do you have a well-connected lawyer? The divorce, actually getting divorced, and then you've got the money. And these are two separate but linked things. On the divorce...
Can you say that again for the people in the back?
This week, we have an absolute stellar superstar guest. That is Debbie Chism.
Hi.
Debbie Chism, let me introduce her, is an absolute powerhouse in the family law world. She is a partner at Stewarts. She's the go-to for all high net worth divorces. She is the soldier you want leading your army.
I call Debbie a shield maiden. I've been defensive wall up. And I call you Debbie, don't start none, there won't be none. We're talking £70 million settlements. We're talking private equity. You personally saved my entire divorce strategy, and I have to thank you for that, and I get a bit teary. And we met because we were governors at an independent private school, and that's the biggest karma, because I was like, let me do something good and give to the school and diversity. And the biggest karma was meeting you, because you're lovely and I like you and you're just wonderful.
Thank you, Ateh.
Thank you so much. You are Debbie, Mother of Dragons. Let's kick off.
Yes, thank you. So we're so lucky to have you on, and we're going to use our time with you wisely, because we know that all lawyers' time is expensive.
Every 6 minutes.
Oh, we should have a little character. We should have an outfit.
My heart's beating.
Let's do it. Choosing the right lawyer.
Choosing the right lawyer. Let's start at the beginning. What should you look for when it comes to choosing the right lawyer? You've decided divorce is happening, or I want to do it. What happens next?
Absolutely. Can I just say I'm thrilled to be having this conversation with you both, because I know that the topics that we're going to talk about today are so important for the people that are going to listen to and view this podcast. And we're covering so much that I, as a family lawyer, would like to share. So I'm really pleased to have the opportunity to do that.
Thank you.
So just... Yes, absolutely. So first question, what do you look for in the lawyer? What should you look for first in a lawyer? Well, can I say, hopefully, you're only going to do this once. So you need to try and pick the right one. There's some personal advice I'd give about it, and there's also some practical advice that I'd give to people. The personal advice is, it needs to be somebody that you feel is someone you can trust. Someone who's authentic, actually. Someone who obviously is professional, but is someone who you can communicate with. Somebody who actually can communicate with you what's going on in a way that you feel you can understand really clearly, and that you can hear what they're saying and follow it and really understand it. Some people, when they talk to a lawyer, they feel they're in a really difficult emotional state, and they're looking for sympathy. But the job of the lawyer is not just to be empathetic. It's actually not always to say yes.
Bobby is could you hold my hand and wipe my tears? And I'm like, get your fucking battle axe out. Let's go. So we're different sides of the fence, Debbie.
So you
which one? Are you in the middle? Are you?
I can be either. But you always have to have that professional hat on, because your job isn't always to say yes to somebody. Quite a lot of the time, you have to say no. You have to be a realist. You have to, but you have to do that with care, and you have to say that with empathy.
I think as the process progresses, certainly I've found in my own personal experience, at the beginning I was incredibly emotional and vulnerable and scared, and all of those weakening emotions were there. And then obviously when we had the conversation, I was 9 months further down the line, stronger, more capable, able to hear what you were telling me. Whereas I think my lawyers were still in the, oh gosh, let's not make her cry situation.
I made that mistake as well, and I had to. And also there's a lot of, there's emotion and shame and vulnerability. And I knew Debbie, on a personal note, And I had been a little bit gaslit into not speaking to you because I was like, oh, the shame of it. But it got to the point where I was like, Debbie, girl, I need a conversation. It's getting a bit sticky. And you were really kind. And if I know what I need now, skip the I need a cuddle and a tissue and go straight to a Debbie Chism.
But I think you do also need that hand holding.
And so your dog or your girlfriend?
Let me say though, so every meeting room here at Stewarts, and we're in one of our meeting rooms here today, there's a box of tissues.
Yeah.
Because I can promise you that whenever I meet somebody for the first time, male or female, it's such an emotional topic. And when, them coming in to see you, the meeting, you're a stranger to them. There's no connection between you, but you have to share as the client the most painful story that you're ever going to share with someone you've never met.
And trust them to have your back.
So it's an incredibly vulnerable conversation. And as a family lawyer, obviously family lawyers are totally badass, but we need to understand the emotional.
So social skills as well as a strategist, as well as a little bit of hand holding, but.
Yes, that's why family law is actually the best profession to be a lawyer in, because you have the privilege of actually dealing with people at their most vulnerable and helping them make positive and impactful decisions, not just for them, but their families, for their kids, for everybody around them. So it's a really privileged role. But sort of back to what are you looking for? So yes, it's empathy, but with that professional hat on, because people need guidance. You don't just need to sob the story. They need let's give you, I hear the story. This is what I need to know. And this is the direction and these are the options. So you need to sort things.
It's like,
it's
the kind of mum that's like, oh, I'm your friend. Let's go drinking and party together. Or it's like, get in your room and do your homework.
You need that boundary, that strict.
Like, I love you, but this is happening. And it's that kind of. And can I just ask, male or female? Because this is fascinating. Because not saying, some people who you might be divorcing might be a bit misogynistic. Who knows? Who does he? I don't know if you could. And maybe they respond better to men than women. Who knows? And it's like, and I didn't even think of that as a thing when I'm speaking to people in the streets. And Debbie has very kindly given me her libel lawyer, so I'm just saying. Jigsaw identity and all that. I'm just saying, if people in the streets were a bit misogynistic, is it better strategically to go for a man or a woman because they may have mother issues or mummy issues and they don't want to deal with women?
Yeah, and it's
a real thing.
Does it make a difference in terms of who you're up against?
Yeah.
Let me take that in 2 stages. So first stage, I get asked a lot, do I act for mostly men or do I act for mostly women? And I probably have the same answer that most family lawyers do, which is that I actually probably act for 50-50, probably an equal number of both. And sort of talking about the psychology behind that, women will often say, I'd like a woman because she'll understand my personal concerns. She'll really understand where I'm coming from. Or some women will say, I'd prefer to have a man because actually I want, this imaginary, strong representation. Women are just as badass. We know this, ladies. We know this. But so women sometimes feel that male shield might be better because actually, if their husband has a male lawyer, they may feel actually, would I be better off having a man to deal with a male lawyer? People come to it with very different approaches, and men will come to me and say, actually, I'd prefer a female lawyer because you will understand perhaps better than me how my wife has been thinking about things.
Not from a nice way.
It can be from a nice way. Absolutely.
That's quite clever. But
some women are thinking, I don't get it, Debbie. Why is she thinking like this? Can you help me understand? So it's both. But can I just say, in terms of all of this thinking, don't just go with the first lawyer you meet, okay? Beauty parade. We have these things called beauty parades. You run into a room. You're going to be one of 2 or 3, or I've been beauty paraded against 6 people once way back. Are you beautiful enough for me? But don't just... lawyers are a service industry. We're working for you. We're working for you.
Thought of it like that, and it's the same. Like, hands up, who married their first boyfriend?
Actually,
No.
no, pretty much. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Sorry. But like,
No, thank goodness.
yeah, but I'm just saying, it's like I married the first gentleman who asked nicely, and it ended in the fucking boardroom. And it's the same thing with lawyers. Like, don't go. I just didn't even think of that. So audition.
Yeah. Because lawyers,
Yeah.
absolutely. And if you're not happy, this is another thing that concerns me is people engage with the lawyer. Because of the stuff you're talking about, the personal stuff, the financial stuff, what do you want for your kids? What do you want financially? Do you want this house? Do you want to keep your house? You're talking about these things. You latch on, you have this relationship which goes beyond the kind of relationship you usually have with a lawyer. If your lawyer is buying and selling your house, you're not sharing the secrets that are going on behind the front door of your house. And actually, if the relationship isn't working, you should never be afraid to switch lawyers, to have a different conversation. It's like if you're in therapy with a counsellor and the counselling's not moving on, change the conversation, change the lawyer. And don't feel hooked in to the relationship. And you need to be careful about that, I'd say.
So can it be very expensive to move?
It can be expensive. So this is why
expensive if you don't sometimes.
It is more expensive if you don't. You're absolutely right. Because it takes on these sort of processes take on a life of their own. And if you're headed in the wrong direction, sometimes you need that sort of wake up call to change. But actually finding the right person first, the first question, is the most important thing. And just coming back to that, we talked about kind of personal ways of thinking about that. Can I just say, sort of in terms of practical ways of finding lawyers?
Yes.
For the show notes today, there are some really good resources for your listeners and viewers that will give you a guide to help you research how to find a lawyer. Because although your friend's lawyer may be absolutely fantastic for them, that's not you and your situation.
We've both had that where it's like, I had that.
My lawyer's brilliant.
I had a personal recommendation, and it was like, they were very sweet to me, but might not necessarily be sweet to you. Like, and it's like, it's tricky based on
people need different things.
And I think you do, going back to that initial point of being very vulnerable, you want to hold on to a lifeline. And so you need to know that lifeline is the right lifeline for you. So going to these resources, checking it out, doing a bit of research, interviewing, meeting with as many as possible.
Yeah, a lot of them will do that for free. You just ring them up and say, can I have 20 minutes just to chat with you? Because all lawyers should be able to do a competent job. That's what they're trained to do. And if they specialise in family law, and that's what you want, you need a specialist, not a generalist. They'll know what they're doing. It's a lot about the connection.
Yes.
And actually, one of the other important things, the resources, is to find somebody in the right area for you, someone who's local to you.
Okay.
And actually, there are some directories which give the best local names and the best local firms, not by price, just by experience and area.
Is that because you think that the physical face-to-face is really important?
It is. And also the lawyers need to know other things about the local area, like the schools.
Yes, like house prices.
House prices. Like if you need an accountant, are there some local people who are local? Actually, the local Black Book, one of them.
Such good advice.
One of the most important things is, do you have a well-connected lawyer? So if you ring me up and say, Debbie, can you find me somebody who can give me a piece of tax advice, pensions advice? Who's the best valuer? Do you know a good nanny agency for my kids? Actually, one of the things I will know someone who will know something. So
a good makeup person.
I was going to say,
I'm on the books now, Debbie.
You are. You don't realise, you guys.
You've got friends for life, Debbie. We are in your network.
You don't realise everyone you meet, and I meet so many people. Fantastic. So many fantastic people from different walks of life, and it's one of the privileges of my job. I don't just meet lawyers. I meet financial advisors. I meet people who are experts in their industries. And actually, if somebody says, "Oh my God, I need a fantastic makeup job," Debbie, is there any way? I get asked questions like this. Absolutely, I know the best in the business. So I have a whole Rolodex, but talking about divorce, it's really helpful to know counsellors in somebody's area, mediators in somebody's area. We're going to talk about mediation in a moment. But there are lots of people that that you need to connect with.
I want to ask about when you choose your lawyer, obviously you like them, you connect with them, you think they're great. At what point do you think about the money? And
early on, very early on. Because,
how much you can afford.
How much can you afford? Exactly.
Absolutely.
And what's the budget? Is there a rough budget? Or?
There's no rough budget, because how long is a piece of string? It may be that you can have a couple of meetings and everything is sorted out, or you may end up in that awful situation where you're fighting about the money, the kids, the dog, the picture on the wall, the plant in the garden, whether to so it's there is no one size fits all. But we talked about that 6 minutes at the beginning. Everyone has a charging rate, but there are different charging rates. And you were talking about red flags and communicating with lawyers. You're not just going to be dealing with one lawyer. You'll be dealing with a trainee solicitor. You'll be dealing with the PA in the team. You might actually speak to them a lot more than you expected. So when you're saying red flags, if you don't like somebody that you meet or talk to at that law firm, then that's not the right law firm.
Their whole team's going to be a reflection of them.
Absolutely.
And their values and their style and everything.
And you want your work done by the person who's the most appropriate charging rate to do it. So if it's gathering some information, then that's maybe one of the more junior people in the team. And if you can communicate really well with them, that can save you a lot of money. So, but absolutely, the lawyer has to be open with you from the get-go. You give estimates to various stages of the process, depending on the job that you're likely to be doing. So,
and legal abuse is a real thing. People rack up rates to try and fatigue you.
I don't know. I understand there's a lot of anecdotal stories you hear about that. But costs are checked. If you're not happy,
not from their side, from your ex's side.
Okay.
I've had stories where they know that you're charged per email or something, so they'll say, yes, I'll send this at 5. 5 emails will cost you 500 quid, knowing that it will fatigue the other person.
And that's the skill of the lawyer to handle that situation. You have this instinct. You know when it's happening. You can see it happening. And then you just contact the other lawyer and just say, stop it. Or you just don't rise to it. There's a lot of strength in not responding, because you get into a really expensive cycle of he said, she said. Good lawyer will cut through that and say, this is what's important. We don't need to write. We don't write an essay. You don't need to write an essay about one particular thing. That's a really good piece of advice, Ateh. Actually, really good piece of advice.
That's the hard way.
We were talking red flags. We've done red flags, kind of. Actually, we just talked about red flags in your lawyers and itemizing of a bill. I get a very itemized bill from my lawyer. Every WhatsApp, every email is itemized as a line item on the invoice. And it's quite scary. I've had to rein in how many times I fire off an email. But Ateh, you said that you don't get this.
No, I just be like, can you just give me some cash, please?
So
I'm not even joking.
So Debbie, what do you have to say about that?
Your lawyer should give you an itemised invoice of what they've actually been doing. And it's a really useful thing, because legal fees stack up really quickly. And actually it gives you what you said really rings true for a lot of clients, because actually they're then much more mindful about who they're speaking to and what they're speaking about, because we talked at the beginning, you're feeling very vulnerable. If you spend an hour just talking about
how you're feeling,
which actually you could be doing that with a friend, with your therapist, with a counsellor for a fraction of or a glass of wine, rather than your lawyer's hourly charging rate. And the lawyer should
6 minutes have that.
And I think also I've been told a lot of times by friends and family, oh, you should tell your lawyer that. And actually, I think I've wasted a huge amount of time telling my lawyers things that really are not relevant, but they're just emotional within the family unit. And And they're like, tell your lawyer. But they don't need to know that.
Strategic.
That's the job of the lawyer, to actually get the information they need from you. And again, what you said is true. A lot of women feel they need to give a lot of information. And when you have a female client, one of your responsibilities is to make sure you try and rein that into what you need.
Yeah.
Men don't tend to tell you as much as they should. And actually, you often have to be pulling information that is relevant. But the lawyer just needs to have the
being professional,
authority and the skills to do that. It's not a coffee morning.
It's not a coffee morning. Give me the facts. I need to go to war.
Yeah.
Versus, and then he did this, and then he did that, and then he spent this much on this.
So, how much do you share with your lawyer?
Well, your lawyer will tell you what you need.
Right. So they're going to be on the fishing exercise, not you on the giving exercise. Yeah. Is really the way you should look at it.
First time I see a client, I won't give them a third degree. That's the wrong way of putting it. But what I will do is guide a conversation. And every very first meeting with a client takes about an hour and a half. But by the end of that hour and a half, you should have everything you need to really help the client in terms of direct what process is the right option for them, whether that's non-lawyers, lawyers, mediation, collaborative law, court process. You should be able to give them a steer on what more information you're going to need. You should have a really good amount of information to guide them and give them the right advice. If all you've done in the first hour and a half is talk about the emotional stuff, as I say, we have tissues here. I'm afraid I'm a gallows humour girl, so I will say, we're going to have to talk through the tears. We're going to have to keep going. I am going to keep going.
That's so professional.
Even if you're going to cry, because I know you're going to cry, because every client that comes to see you for the first time, they have to admit something which is humiliating,
failure,
shameful. Often they've never failed in anything in their lives before. They have to tell you about what they want for their children. And then you as the lawyer have to tell them the good news and the bad news. Your clients have to pay you for that news. And then everything that you've said, be that selling the house or dealing with the amount of money, is execute. It's all about the numbers.
Can I ask you?
So, yeah.
Because a friend of mine asked, morals don't... It was very Victorian back in the 80s and 90s. He had an affair, you will get more money. And my friend was saying, that wasn't the case for me, but like my friend was saying that, her ex-husband was having an affair and mistresses, and she was like, and they're like, no one cares anymore.
Yeah.
So can I just clarify that doesn't matter anymore in the way in our mother's generation.
It doesn't matter how bad the partner has been,
like behaviour
that has resulted in the divorce.
Two things. You got the divorce, actually getting divorced, and then you've got the money. And these are two separate but linked things. On the divorce...
So you said that again for the people in the back. Divorce and the money are two separate things.
They're two separate things. They are two separate things.
That's really interesting. We'll
come on to sort of processes of that. Divorce used to have to contain a ground, a fact to show why a marriage had irretrievably broken down. And one of the facts used to be adultery.
Yeah.
So back in the day, it was important if somebody had
because it's your fault.
Affair, because then
it's wrong.
Fault, exactly right, because it was wrong.
Yeah.
Today, you go on the government portal website, in the show notes, in the resources, we'll show you where to go, and you just say, you hit click on a button, I would like a divorce, and it's just a waiting time. There's no have to say why. It's just I want to get divorced. So that's changed. So the affairs don't matter from that perspective now, and financially they don't matter either. The only time they matter is if we're talking about maintenance, and actually somebody needs less money because they're sharing a new household with a new partner. So it's they're saving money on the one hand, so they've got more money to share.
But no morality. There's no morality involved. It's just facts and figures.
So it's a really sterile, dehumanizing kind of discussion, and that's why there's this real mix between that vulnerability for clients at the beginning, because all of those human things are the things that have brought them into your office and make them feel so exposed and so vulnerable. And then we have to kind of deal with the fact that coming out of the other end, it's all about the money and the outcome and the practical.
Yeah, it's definitely not romantic, is it?
It's really unromantic.
So would you say the definition of divorce is just the end of the marriage.
Contract.
It's the end of the contract. And actually the money being completely separate is the FDR or the financial agreement or that. So the two things. We're getting divorced, i.e. our marriage is over. That is a box ticked on the government website.
Yeah.
And then the money side of it
is the money.
And that's where the lawyers come in.
Exactly.
It gets real Jane Austen.
It gets super Jane Austen. I love Jane Austen, my favourite author.
Me too.
Oh my goodness.
But if you think it's a marriage contract.
It is.
And I think if you go into marriage that way, it's probably healthier.
Some people will say, hang on a minute. Why does the divorce take a very long time to get, though, if actually you can do it so simply? The reason for that is, although the finances are separate, if you get divorced and the finances and the discussions related to that are still rumbling on, it could be because people are delaying their divorce, because if they get divorced, they would lose widows' or widowers' rights if their spouse died during the proceedings. So you might lose pension rights if you're already divorced, or you might lose benefits of an insurance policy, something like that. So if there is a reason to be financially linked, that's often why. So,
and again, your lawyer will advise.
Absolutely.
And will say
it's more advantageous for the other person to be linked with you if you are financially stronger.
And sometimes the court can step in and hold you in this married state until the finances are sorted out. But a lawyer will take you through that, because for a lot of people, you don't still need to be married because those financial links.
It's not the 70 million settlement.
So you touched on it there, and it's a good segue into the next stage of the court
processes.
Yes. So the court process, from what I'm understanding, is really the route of last resort.
It is. There's a lot of steps up to that point.
So can you run us through the beginning?
Yeah.
How does it start?
And when you need to pull the trigger.
Yes.
The court process, or it's running up to that. Okay, we're going to go for the nuclear option first.
No, the court process is obviously the nuclear, right?
Yeah.
So let's start nuclear and go right backwards. It's really better, but let's start big and go backwards.
Let's roll.
So, Debbie, you want to...
Okay, well, let's start
pull
big.
The trigger and then go backwards.
Okay, we'll start with the bleak and the depressing, and then we'll go to the more positive and the more creative. Okay.
Work backwards.
We're going bleak.
Yeah.
Even if you're going nuclear and bleak with the court process.
Which is expensive, avoid at all costs if you can.
Yeah.
Okay.
90% of people starting the court process won't go through the whole process to the end.
Okay.
About 90% of people will stop and reach an agreement and reach a settlement, a divorce settlement, at the halfway process, at the halfway part. There are...
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. The court process has 3...
Why is it considered nuclear?
Expense.
Okay.
Time, conflict, because also the decision as to how to end things is put in the hands of a complete stranger, a judge. Mm-hmm. A judge, if you can't reach an agreement along the way, a judge is going to ride in at the end and say, I've heard all of this.
This is what's happening.
This is what's happening to the house. This is what's happening. You lose control. Mm. And so people are really fighting for what they want out of that process, rather than concentrating on how to stop that process and how to actually settle it. Now, a good lawyer will keep that settlement door and the thoughts of those discussions and negotiations open all the way, because it can stop. The process feels like a big truck rolling into a big, but you can actually stop this process by reaching an agreement. As soon as you agree, it just all drops away. It's all done.
That's a very, very powerful thing.
Yeah.
So it's a train that doesn't have to roll all the way to the station.
Absolutely.
So so don't. I think so many people are scared to go to court. Scared to pull that. And you taught me, don't be.
Don't be scared.
Which
don't be
like,
scared.
You'll do anything, and I think
no.
You do it. Please, let's not go to court. Let's do this, and I think it could be something to hit you over the head with if you're fearful of it.
Yeah.
Or it could be your hammer. So because literally, like, or my naughty step, or the naughty step.
Or for some people, they get so exhausted by the process. They're like, we'll just agree, and I just want it done. I want this over with.
For that,
And actually, that might not be the right thing for them. But other people might need to go to court just to get it done.
Yeah.
You know, for the same reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it doesn't need to be seen as this big nuclear bomb, even though we are describing it as that.
The first stage, so there are three court appearances that you have to put in personally. The first hearing, which is called a first appointment, really exciting title. It's housekeeping, it's admin. Yeah. It's the stage by which you have to have done your financial disclosure. And I know you covered this in one of your earlier podcasts.
But they hide. So many people, so many ex-husbands, partners, they have offshore account, like the bougie ones have offshore accounts, or they're like, "Mum, could you hold my money in my account?" There's like there's so much hiding. How can you sniff it out?
Isn't as much as you'd think.
Yeah,
people tend to be economic with the truth rather than outright lying.
Yeah,
but once you're in the court process, the Form E then starts again, right?
There's always
and.
The Form E, which is the big financial disclosure document, it essentially holds you upside down by your ankles and shakes you, and all the pound coins you can see dropped out onto the floor.
And you can't lie on that.
Unless you've got zipped up pockets.
And
can you lie on the Form E? No.
You can lie on the Form E, but it's so easily traced back unless somebody is absolutely committed to kind of buying a one-way ticket to Liechtenstein with their money and not coming back. You're going to find it. Okay. You are going to find it. You leave. There's always footprints in the sand. You can always see them.
It's expensive to find the footprints, though.
It can be. It can be. And this is all about pragmatism, proportionality. What do you need to know to get to a fair outcome?
You can spend $100,000 to get 10 grand.
And a lot of people have said to me, "What do you want? Work out what you want, and then you."
Financially
go for that, but actually that's
not quite that. It's what's important to you. It's not what do you want, it's what is really important to you. What's important to me is having the children go to this particular school. What's important to me is, if I can, staying in this house. Priorities are what, not what you want, but what's the most important things on the list for you. And then actually the lawyer should say that's achievable, that's not achievable. This is a balance. This is where we need to kind of think about things. Would you make a compromise here to get that? And understand where the give and take is likely to be. So what do you want, and go for that. Oh, that can end up in a lot of trouble.
Money and conflict.
And also the concept of taking somebody to the cleaners, that is dead and buried really now, along with he had an affair or whatever.
And what about spousal support? Because it's, I work in the beauty industry where there's a lot of bad bitches, boss bitches, and I know so many women who are paying spousal support to husbands. In a way, again, it's not the 1980s anymore. That door swings both ways. So
it absolutely does.
What qualifies spousal support today? It's not just because you're a lady.
Need. You need support, and your spouse has the ability to pay to you, and it's fair because the marriage has been long enough to entitle you to some support over that period of time, or you need it for providing a home for kids, or even if you're not the primary carer, you are able to have enough money to make sure that you can see the kids and have a good time with the kids. It's about need. It's all about need.
I know a friend who a male friend who was married to a high-flying banker who decided to become a yoga teacher, and then she's suddenly like, well, I need X, Y, and Z. And he's like, bitch, you used to be a banker. I'm sure you could go back to working. And she's like, no, I'm a yoga teacher now.
And sometimes,
like, what would you say to him?
And sometimes...
Does that seem fair?
Sometimes, it's kind of common sense. If they've been married for 10 minutes and she's just given up work and become a yoga teacher, then it wouldn't be fair to kind of do that. If they've been married for, 20 years, it's very different.
And she gave up work to look after the kids.
Not, exactly.
It's nuanced.
It's that, and that's the thing, because we don't have this kind of forensic science of, calculate this way and that way, because there's always fairness and subjectivity. Some people can do some jobs, some people can't. Some people can find a job, some people can't.
The court decides, or you have to decide it in the boardroom.
Try and decide it in the boardroom. Try and talk it out in lots of different ways. And if you can't, then a court will make an order. And if you get to court, you can have people like employment experts who can come into court and write reports about what kind of job your spouse could be getting and earning. And that is, all these sorts of people can become involved. It become a huge circus.
Yeah.
And then you have an expert say, well, you can do this kind of job and find this sort of income from that.
And based on your education
Oh my
level,
goodness.
and
And your working experience and your CV and, exactly.
So don't be scared.
Don't be scared. There's lots of ways of actually getting to the information. It isn't just going to rest on, I say you can do that. You say you can't. There are always going to be people that can be brought in to give an opinion on some of these things.
Like
employment experts, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And so what about if you are the weaker of the two and your partner who you're divorcing
financially or
and maybe career-wise and you're like, well,
this is really important. So the financially weaker party can always get an order to make their spouse help them with their legal fees and help them with their interim income along the way to getting to that final decision.
Because a lot of women, a lot of friends, they have felt bullied and they're like, I cannot defend myself. I physically cannot afford it. So what do you say to them?
They can. Because they don't have to meet it themselves. They can get support from their partner to meet legal fees, to give them equality of arms. So you're not going to have some so you're not going to have some, big high charging firm on one side and somebody who can't represent themselves on the other, or with a lawyer who they are limited in their choice of.
Yeah.
So that kind of goes back to the beginning of how do you choose a lawyer? Because I certainly felt like my ex-husband, he has the resources to go and get the best lawyer out there and I don't. Whereas actually what you're saying is just go in as big as you can mentally.
If your husband's gone at that level because he knows that he can afford a lawyer of the kind that he wants, you shouldn't be constrained. If he could afford to cover your lawyer's costs as well, then you should be applying for that to happen. So equality of arms, fairness between separating parties. So you make an application. You would have to go through the court application to do it. But
your lawyer should tell you that.
Your lawyer should tell you that. And also, keeping to the he, she we've been talking about, his lawyer will tell him that is a risk. And therefore, there shouldn't be the cost of you fighting to get your legal fees paid. That lawyer should be saying you should be paying those legal costs. And most of the cases that I deal with where that's the imbalanced situation, we don't have to go to court to get our fees paid because it's recognised that if we did go to court, we would get them paid. So it would just be a complete waste of money for everybody to have a fight about the payment of legal costs. And that works for unmarried parents as well as divorcing couples.
I wanted to say,
that's really important.
And again, it's the Victorian thing where I have a friend who's like, but we were not married. We had a child out of wedlock. I have no rights. We don't realise how Victorian we are.
These are the
assumptions. I can't get anything because we were never married.
Yeah.
What do I say to my friend who will be calling you Debbie?
But these are the assumptions people make, and actually,
and her ex-partner's a good there, and and it's very unbalanced. What do you say to her?
Well, first of all, as I say, beauty parading lawyers. Most lawyers will give you sort of a 20 minutes just to have a chat. Yeah. And if you have one big question like that, can I afford you? Yeah. They should be honest about it and say, no, I don't think you can, or we could actually go and help you with funding by doing this. Yeah. So you need to get the questions. Yeah. When you ring the lawyer, you need to have your prepared list of questions. How much is it going to cost? Can I afford this? Are you the right firm? And talking about lawyers with good Rolodexes, if I'm not the right person to do I say call this, there are names I can give out, and there's lots of resources on the show notes sites to show you where to go in your area for all sorts of descriptions of people. All of the lawyers who are recognised will have descriptions about how they work and where they are.
I love your generosity because I work with Helen Mirren, and I consider you the Helen Mirren of the divorce. Where it's when you're an A-lister in anything acting, divorce, like being the law, you have this generosity of spirit. It's like, I don't need to be competitive or whatever. It's like, I'm Helen fucking Mirren, Dane. I'm Debbie fucking Chism. You can't afford me. That's cute. But why don't you have this lady over here? And I love that. And I think that's a really good sign
really
of
important.
someone at the top of their game, where they're not like, precious, it's all mine. It's like, no, it's okay, you go for it.
Well, it's about the Michelle Obama. You reach back. You don't climb into the attic and pull up the ladder and shut the door. You help. And actually, we are there to do our best professional job for clients. And that means giving them the bad news from your part. You don't need to have this fight. I don't need to take you to court. We can sort it out by doing this. And actually, that means I have happy clients, because they know that I'm not going to walk them to the door of a court if they don't have to go there, because there are other options.
So why would you have to go to court?
Usually 3 things, probably. A valuation issue where a business has to be valued. And there are lots of different ways to value businesses and lots of different opinions about it. And if you have a company, it can be a really big swing difference on value. So that's one thing.
Yeah. And ownership, like if someone's very sneaky and they have things in trust, or it's in different people's names and blah 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 blah.
It's okay. I mean, that you can work your way through that. That's about the art of the possible. That's about what can be realised from those resources, what should be realised from those resources. But valuation is a thing that takes people to court.
Okay.
And if anyone who's listening to this is maybe on the other side and they have the business and the trust, and thinking, how can I hide it? How can I get away with not disclosing it?
No, you can't.
You can't.
You can't. You just can't. But as I say, valuations are valued differently, and actually, there are some people that will push valuations in certain different directions. So it's about sort of knowing how to do the job correctly for the client in the situation. The second of the 3 ways of getting to court is that thing we talked about: principles. I want this. And if somebody won't take no for an answer, even though it's, I want this house, the house is too expensive, it's going to have to be sold. But I want it.
You go to headmistresses,
and if someone is really stubborn and obstinate about an issue of principle, that's where something can go to court. And then there's the third one, which is sort of real conflict, won't agree about anything.
Kids
is different again. So we've got divorce, we've got money, and then we've got children. Children are the most important, but they're the least likely to be in court, because that's not the way to resolve anything to do with children.
In the 80s, my mum had a very 80s dynasty, international, messy divorce, and she did everything. God bless her. But she was like, I want my name and my children. And it was just a shit show.
Yeah.
But I remember being 8 and having to go to court and say, I don't want to live with my
daddy. And
I want to live with my mummy.
That's
still, for life.
And if you have children who are over the age, well, not open court.
I was in front of my dad. I had to say it in front of my dad.
Wow, I mean, that's scarring.
In the UK?
He just glared at me. See, it's different times, babe. And I remember him just glaring at me.
Yeah. But children, if they're embroiled in court proceedings, if they're over the age of 9 or 10, they will be asked their opinion privately. But they're
closed doors.
Behind closed doors in a really sensitive way.
Yeah.
But they're still part of what happens, which is one of the many reasons why you should always find an alternative way to find an agreement about children. Also, parents are the only experts about their children.
Yeah.
It's not like the independent evaluator or a CAFCAS officer, who some of your listeners will be familiar with, they come in and give CAFCAS. CAFCAS. This is one of the famous acronyms. Let me read it out so I've got it properly.
I feel like I'm glad we don't know about this.
A Children and Family Court Advisory and Support Service officer. Yeah. They will come in, they will speak to the child, and they will pass on the child's views to the judge and to the parents as to what the child has said and what they feel, whether that's an authentic view, whether it's a view which is influenced in any way by
alienation and all that
sort of thing. But everything to do with children can and should be obviously sorted out by the parents. And
it's a third pot.
It's the most important pot of all.
Because when you're both getting divorced, you just think of it as a massive cake.
And it's not.
It's like it's a layer. I'm a visual thinker.
Yeah.
It's a cake.
Yep.
With 3 tiers.
Yes.
And then you slice through the cake and you have a slice of cake and that's your divorce done. But it's money, the contract is over, children.
Yeah.
And then we have a chocolate or sponge, whatever you like. I'm feeling yours.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
Cream and mine's the chocolate tiered cake. And you have to consistently slice through all of it and get it done.
Yeah. And then obviously that's exactly right.
Yeah.
But it obviously
easy. Creative brain for you. Slice through the, make sure they're not lumpy, make sure everything's even.
There's always going to be raisins and there's always going to be chunks of chocolate in there.
Things that haven't been mixed.
Nuts you don't expect,
I'm such a little, I want everything neat. So you have to be prepared that it's going to be what it is.
It is, because there's lots of people's opinions going in. But with the children layer,
the children layer
needs to be the least
important,
which is the most important
and most protected. Am I right?
Yes, absolutely. Children come first.
Yeah.
Always come first. Their interests, well-being, financial, always are put first. But when it comes to deciding about where children are going to be living, how they're going to divide their time,
education,
where they go on holiday, education, and we don't have, this is the other assumption thing that you talked about from the Victorian age, we don't have custody. We don't have that concept. Not anymore. The orders that are made about children are called child arrangements orders. And that might...
No.
So this child belongs to this person. There's no territorial ring fence around them. It's an arrangement. It's how they spend their time. And that's really, people get very obsessed with.
It's like, this is the child, and the child will spend 50% of the time in this village.
But you can't also force the parent to be a parent, can you?
What if the parent doesn't want to really be involved?
You can't force them. It's
because we're not Victorian era.
Exactly.
There's
and
no
actually
bell of shame.
There is that. And can I say, it's one of the things,
it's awful though, isn't it?
Sort of mums who take a lot of the load on their shoulders are often very, very concerned that at the point of separation, father becomes super dad and suddenly
Disney dad.
And actually it may happen for a short period of time because while children are dealing, everyone's dealing with the separation.
Or any time spent with that parent is good time.
But actually in the longer term, people tend to sort of play out their parenting roles pretty much how they always have done. So, but people get very, very anxious about that. And I can understand that.
Competitive parenting, just saying, libel, lawyer, jigsaw identity, you can have have anything you want, go to bed at whatever time you want, let's go shopping. And it's very hard to compete with that when you're like sewing in labels and doing things. But it's not fair.
Yeah, but I always think that children want boundaries and tram lines to work within, and they're always going to be more comforted by the person who says bedtime's at 8 than the person who says go to bed whenever you want. I think even though it might seem like a nice idea, they're going to appreciate that in the long run. So those rules are important.
And can we run through the stages of divorce?
We can.
Let's do the ABCs because it's a big daunting thing.
Just as we leave children, I just want to say mediation is the best way to talk about anything that you can't agree between yourselves about.
And can you
children.
Recommend, because in the notes you recommended, can I do the shout out to who you recommended to me?
It's in the Family Mediation Council. In the show notes, there's
shout out James Carroll.
Shout out James Carroll.
Absolutely. Carroll.
Yes, James.
Legend, icon.
James is an icon. So I love James.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a slightly different kind of analogy to him. Let's focus on the court process and the stages there, and then we can chat about how you avoid that. So there are 3 stages in the court process. After you fire the gun and say, court, I want you to help me sort out finances, because you have to do that. Doesn't happen automatically. You have to hit the button on the portal and say, just like you hit the button on the divorce, you hit the button and say, I want the court to help me with finances. What happens next? There are 3 stages where you put in a personal appearance. The first appointment, it's admin, it's housekeeping. by the time of that hearing, you should have filled in your financial disclosure document, your Form E. And at that first appointment, lasts about half an hour maximum. So you see, not a big deal, not an exciting
But you show up.
occasion. You show up. Everyone has to come and see the judge because the judge wants to say, has everybody done their Forms E? Has everyone done their financial disclosure? So hopefully everybody goes, yes. Yeah. And the judge says, great. Okay. Have you got any questions on each other's Forms E? And the answer to that will be usually, yes, we've got a few questions. What's this amount of money gone to? What's this house worth? Sort of basic questions. And those questions are not verbalized. You don't have to speak as a client at those appointments. You'll have put in writing ahead of time what the questions are that you'd like your other half to answer. And at that appointment, the judge spends that half hour saying, okay, these are the questions that I agree should be answered on paper in a few weeks' time. And then I will see you all back here for stage 2. And that is the financial dispute resolution appointment, or FDR, as everybody hears for short. And that second appointment is a settlement meeting. It's a negotiation and a settlement discussion with a judge in the chair seat. And the judge's only function there is to try and make you agree or help you agree, to try and find the common ground, to try and work out the divorce settlement. And people will have to go to that second appointment with what they suggest the answer should be. So you'll go in saying, I want £10. I'll be your spouse and I'll say, I'd like
It's one.
How about I'd like to, I'll say, hey, how's one? And the judge will say, I hear your 10, I hear your 1. I think it's 5 or 6, isn't it? So do you see, that's the job that the judge is doing. They won't always cut the difference down the middle, but honestly, they'll try and find the middle ground.
Am I right in thinking that there's a splinter group within this, that you can do it through the government system
by yourself,
or you can also do it
private.
privately?
Yes, you can. Absolutely. Let me just do stage 3 and then we'll drop back. Stage 3. So when I said earlier that 90% of people don't go to the end of the court process, the stage I've just described, stage 2, that's where they find the resolution. Because a judge has said, if I was hearing this today, it wouldn't be £10, it would be 5. You're suddenly hit with the reality of, oh, a judge would tell me it was 5 and would say to me, he's offering you £1. Debbie Chism, what do you think you're doing?
Yeah.
It's 5. And that's, people suddenly wake up and they're like, okay, there is a middle ground. This is more likely than not what's going to happen. I've spent all this money and time to get to this point, because let me just say, in timing, if I hit the button on starting my financial application today, and we are now in the month of
May.
end of April. We're end of April. End of April. We'd hope that our first appointment would be listed within 16 weeks. So hopefully by July. The court shuts in August completely, so there's no go anywhere in August. So we might have our first appointment in July. And then our second stage,
A small panic attack.
our second stage, our settlement, our FDR that we've just talked about, that would probably be in the autumn, say October.
You'll be right, babe. Don't be blind.
And it depends on, all the courts in the country have different lists, waiting lists and times. So
is it important where you get? Because my friend said it was strategic, and she went somewhere where they were, like she said, if you went in the Westminster versus K&C versus...
Well, you get stuck because you're stuck to where you live. That's it.
Yeah.
The only way you get out of that is if your case is super complex or super valuable, in which case it might be taken into the High Court rather than a county court. And there's all sorts of stuff around that. But just back to sort of, so stage 2, end of April, we'd probably be looking at that happening in the autumn. If we can't reach that landing zone, that agreement that we hope is going to happen, then you go to the bit where the judge actually takes a decision. That's when you're actually going to have to give evidence and say why you want to keep the house, why you want that level of income, and the judge takes a view. And that usually lasts a couple of days, can last up to 3 weeks.
And you're paying your lawyer
hourly rate. And whatever you've spent on your lawyer to second stage, however much that is, you will double it to the final hearing. Okay. Whoa. So that is a pretty good reckoner as to what you're likely to spend. So if you've got to the FDR and you say, no, I want to go to the final hearing because I hope to get this. Bear in mind, you're going to double your cost because at that final hearing, it takes so much more time. There's all of your evidence to give and write down. Lots of work.
So the costs and you win and your spouse is more financially, they have to pay that.
No, not necessarily. If you've been unreasonable and gone with the I want principle, and the judge says you should never have been here because that was silly. So you have to be careful. But back to can we take it out of the court system and all of its delay and go private? Yes. You absolutely can. And in fact, you can do that through the whole process. And that's arbitration that we'll talk about in a moment. And it's like moving out of the national health system into a Bupa system. So although decisions will be the same standards, same judgment,
different,
you'll be doing it on your timing. So you won't have to wait as long for these stages. So if you have a private second stage, a private FDR,
it's a really good way of looking at it because you can understand that a bit better.
And how much is that? Well, lawyers are their own cost.
High net people
not necessarily. And honestly, I think it might be. I mean, it's expensive, but I don't think given that most people are able to sort things out at these appointments. Actually, anyone starting this process should really be focusing on trying to get to that sort of a meeting as quickly as they can. You have to pay the judge. Obviously, if you go to the court through the NHS system, you don't pay the judge. Judge is on the taxpayer. If you're going privately, you have to pay your judge, and that's the cost.
That's interesting.
But then my lawyers advised me that if you, let's call it the NHS version, if you do the NHS, that the judge might be seeing multiple cases in a day, whereas if you go privately, they're going to just be looking at your case and will be able to give it a bit more.
Absolutely right.
But then also, you really don't want to be wasting the judge's time, and the judge will.
And wasting all of your energy and preparation, because it's a really big focal point. Everything's been valued. You've thought about it so carefully. You've worked up to that. You've got your proposal ready to go. And if you walk into a court with a judge who's got 3 other cases, hasn't read enough of your file, then you actually, it might be worth been paid. Might have been worth to pay for someone,
have to wait
especially for you. The judges will cost anything between probably £3,000 to £5,000 up to £20,000 to £25,000 for that occasion.
Wow.
But given the amount of money you spend on your lawyers for the whole process, having that meeting
could be cheaper,
timed and focused to you might save you money.
And hopefully you will have got to stage 2, and that's where you end it, rather than getting to stage 3.
And that's where, because often it's if your spouse is being unreasonable, you want to get them into a room where they're going to hear the right answer quickly. And so it's something that definitely you should do.
That is amazing. You've really broken it down into a way that we can understand. Well, certainly I've understood it much better than what my understanding of the whole court process was before, and made it seem a lot less scary than I think. I mean, we started off calling it the nuclear button, but it doesn't need to be. It's
you've demystified it. And it's like a wild horse. You can ride the wild horse if you know what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And actually, then it's a beautiful steed. We're talking about beautiful steeds. Do you need a lawyer? Lawyer, no lawyer? When is self-representation a bad idea? I know people who've been to court and they've smashed it, or, at what point can you just say, you know what, I haven't got the money, I haven't got the energy, let me just do some tippy taps and file stuff. Like
divorce, you don't need a lawyer. You can hit that button all by yourself. It's not difficult.
Because that's the end of the marriage. It's not the financial.
Children, you don't need a lawyer. No. You're the expert on your children and what they need.
I'm at my consent order stage.
That's more technical.
So consent order has been done.
So a consent order is when you've reached your financial agreement with your spouse and you record it, and the court is going to approve it as the final financial order on your divorce.
Do I need to go through my lawyer, or can I just file that myself?
You can file it yourself, but it's a really technical document. It's easy to get wrong. And one of the things I was going to say is you can be with your lawyer through thick and thin through the whole process, or you can just dip in and out of picking and choosing a legal service when when you need it.
You didn't.
And actually, you can just say
buffet service,
Yeah.
buffet divorce.
And if you and your spouse have agreed what's going to happen,
But if they're difficult, that's difficult.
but if you've got an agreement, you know what the agreement is. You're talking about your consent order.
What a consent order is.
It's the final financial order. It's you're joking.
Buzzy random. Chism is here.
Thank God you guys are here.
Dragons is here. But can I just say, James Carroll did my consent order.
Yeah. So it's best to have a lawyer at least check it, if not do it from the start.
He did the consent order.
Because it's
what is it?
It's the document that says to the court, this is the final financial agreement between this divorcing couple. This ends their financial relationship. It's going to end on the basis of the payment of maintenance or the payment of cash or the
It's the full stop.
It's the full stop.
Yeah.
And you full and final. Also, it's like,
you can't come back from this.
You can vary maintenance up and down.
Okay.
But if you have something called a clean break where you divide money and walk away, that is it. It's also important because then you can enforce it. So if somebody doesn't pay what they've agreed to pay, then you can pull them back in and enforce your court order against them. So you need to sign it off. It also means...
Do you need wet signatures from both and then to put it into court?
Yeah.
So, because...
Yeah.
And what happens if one person doesn't sign the consent order?
You can ask the judge to make them sign it if they have agreed through their solicitors that this is the deal.
So what you can compel them to.
Yeah.
So, and if
Dear court, please make this order. It's called.
So you can put it. So if the other person doesn't want to sign, you can give it to.
If they've agreed it, why would they not sign it?
Well,
you can
allegedly. Just saying.
Nobody we
there
know
are
here.
steps you can take to make people do things that they really should do without trouble.
It's so dangerous.
Gangster.
I've got some boys. Gangster. No.
But you need one of these. If you don't have one of these financial orders, then years later someone can make a financial. Your former spouse can make a financial order.
James Carroll said that.
Financial claim.
He told me the horror story of they didn't have a clean break, and like 25 years later, that other person got super duper rich, and the 10-minute wife came and cleaned them out because they didn't do the
exactly right
small print. So
the only time that fails is if you get remarried. So if you remarry and you've failed to shut the door on marriage number one, and you suddenly think, I should have got that from marriage number one, and you've just remarried, that's gone. The door is
Victorian.
So if you remarry, that also is like a massive full stop on the whole process.
Yeah, it will stop your maintenance if you're receiving it.
Can I just
say, don't get remarried?
Can I just strategically, because I have this brain, say you are with someone who's super duper rich.
Yes.
And they are due to inherit. This sounds evil, but this is a Netflix movie in my head. If you're a bit sneaky, you wouldn't remarry and you wouldn't have a clean break.
Inheritance.
You could come for the money after.
No, you can't. You can't. You're being way too sneaky there. We divide up.
That's not my situation. But if it was.
So inherited money is a non-matrimonial asset. So what
can't be touched.
It can't be touched unless somebody has needs.
So
can't be met.
So if your ex-husband, your ex-partner inherits money.
Yeah.
That won't go into the pot.
No, not automatically.
People eject. I know there's people hanging on. There's probably millions of our listeners hanging on.
Don't do it.
Love.
Don't do it.
Get out.
And judges don't make orders on the basis of what you're going to be left, because actually they know that if that's going to happen, your parent will then leave it to Battersea Dogs Home. Because if they think that your gold digging soon-to-be ex-spouse is going to come after that, then obviously that's wrong. But the law protects it.
It's wrong.
Unless it's wrong.
No, but it's wrong. But on the other side, I know lots of friends who do have inheritance, who do have things that their families have built up.
Yeah.
And how dare you try and come for that? So it's like, again, we're not Victorian. It's not two-sided.
No.
The door swings both
ways. And there's shades of grey in all of this. It may be a company that they inherit, and then they work in the company. So the company's what's been worked on for 20 years of the marriage, by generations. But it started off before
Grandpas.
everyone came on the scene. So yeah,
So you
there's
don't,
shades of grey.
You don't have
There's shades of grey.
That
No, you potentially do because if the company has been worked on during the marriage by the couple, you have to be careful.
If someone worked in that company and made it successful,
It
that
depends.
person might have a claim to it.
It depends. This is the big lawyer's answer. It depends.
On
It
what
starts
what value they brought to it.
starts off as a non-matrimonial asset, but if it's been worked on during
The
marriage, has it increased in value? Has it gone down in value? What kind of role has been played? What kind of value has been put in during the marriage that wouldn't have just passively increased over time anyway? So you have to start to look. So if you inherit money in a will and it's just sat in a bank account, that's easy. That's binary. That's, there it is.
No, but
if it's something a bit more complicated, and at the moment we're on a really exciting day in family legal law history, which we're on the 30th of April, because my firm is in the Supreme Court today on a case called Standish. Now, you might say that sounds really boring.
No, that's fascinating.
But family law cases don't go into the Supreme Court very often. We've only had 3 or 4 in the last 20 years of any note for family law. And the whole subject that's being talked about today is, when do non-matrimonial assets become matrimonial? So this whole grey area, and this particular case is obviously very involved in on its own facts, but this case could have really big impacts for family. I did change the law. I did change the
Every
law.
time I say, I've got a friend you've changed UK divorce law.
I have.
What did you do?
I did it. Can I finish talking about this really? Because I just want to finish this bit. No. This case today is really important. It's called Standish. And what will happen is it's going to look at how you can matrimonialize a non-matrimonial asset. And the reason it's important for everybody listening is that for a family home, if somebody bought a family home from their own money before the marriage and then everyone lives in it during the marriage, is that a matrimonial asset or a non-matrimonial asset? Because the person who bought it before...
matrimonial.
Well, there we go. I love it.
What's the answer?
We're going to find out after this hearing today. It used to be the case, automatically, as soon as it was lived in as a family, it's a matrimonial home. And however it was funded, whoever paid for it, however long ago, if the family are in it, it's divided 50-50. In recent years, we've kind of been moving away from that a bit. And if the marriage isn't that long, or if somebody put in a lot of money to that family home, it's creeping in that maybe it's not a 50-50 asset. And the ruling today is going to tell us a lot more about how, it's not going to come out for a few months.
Different sides. You're going to call it, in the show notes, you'll say which way
We'll add in the show notes, because there's a lot of stuff on the website about this case and why it's important. And the facts are interesting. There's a lot of money earned before the marriage, and the husband gave £80 million to the wife to put in a trust. He'd earned it all before the marriage.
This is real numbers.
Yeah. And she didn't put it in the trust. She immediately turned around and said, I'm divorcing you. You gave that to me. It's mine.
Oh, she's a sneaky one.
So it's a really interesting case. So the Supreme Court are hearing it now.
He's like, put it in a trust.
That's fine. Put it in a trust.
And she said, actually...
I'm keeping it. You've given it to me.
Bye.
The facts are really interesting. It's
and so
we're 30th of April 2025. It's happening today. In a few months' time, if people watch this back, the outcome will be known, and we will be able to talk about it and have another conversation.
That over the IKEA dining room set a little less.
It gives us a good excuse to check back in with you, and we can discuss it and see how time is spent.
Because for people coming saying, "Can I keep my? Do I keep half the house, none of the house, more of the house?" It's really important. So these Supreme Court cases are very.
We've done the nuclear button court process. And in that process, you mentioned the word mediation. I understood mediation was something that happens right at the very beginning. It's somebody who can ring the bell, ding, ding, round 2, you talk. Run us through what mediation is.
No, it's not. That's not what a mediator is there to do. A mediator is a coach.
Right.
Not a referee.
Oh,
Okay.
So that's a misconception.
That is game changing.
Yeah.
And also the fact, like Buzzy was saying, you think, okay, it's step one, like we're going to get divorced. Do I even need a lawyer? Do I not need a lawyer? Maybe we do a bit of mediation and then we can get through this. That's not actually what the mediator is.
No, a mediator is there to help you try and reach an agreement. Can even direct you as to whether they think you need to back off and actually stop and go talk to lawyers before you re-engage with mediation. So some mediators will just want to see the couple. Mm-hmm. Some mediators will want to see you all in the same room all the time. Mm-hmm. Some mediators will have you in different rooms if you can't actually speak directly to each other. Some mediators will let you bring your lawyers along so that their clients can have a supported coaching chat to help them try and reach an agreement.
Coach, not referee.
Yeah.
No judgment.
Everything.
No judgment. Absolutely no judgment. Their job is not to direct you to what they think the answer or the outcome should be.
To work out how to separate in a very respectful way.
It's
and
facilitating
and money.
a conversation.
Talk about divorce. They can talk about everything with you. And they are a really brilliant resource. And the government offers mediation vouchers for people, £500 mediation vouchers. So look on the show notes because that's got the details for the government portal for how you find that, details for how you find your way to the right mediators, the Family Mediation Council. But the directories also have the best mediators listed. And if you've got a really good, skilled mediator, they should be able to help you mediate your way out of a good or a high percentage of issues for separating couples.
Do you have a mediator, not a lawyer, or you have a mediator and a lawyer, or you just have a lawyer? How does the...
Well, you sit there and you think, do I need a lawyer? So you think to yourself, how complicated is my situation?
Yeah.
Is my situation, my house, my income? I know what my partner's house and income is. If it's really not that complicated, your first port of call should definitely be a mediator. If there are international issues because you're French, or your husband is Belgian, or
working in different countries,
or if you don't have any discussion about finances in your household whatsoever, so you are completely ignorant of what the finances are, that's a slightly different issue, because you are going to the mediation is at its best when the situation is everyone's got an even part on the playing field. Everyone is an even Stevens.
And everyone's coming to the table equally.
Yes. The mediator, if they're a good, skilled, experienced one, like James Carroll.
Shout out to James Carroll.
Shout out to James Carroll.
Who I love, who has been like rock star.
Will help guide you in terms of the financial unpeeling as well. So a mediator, if somebody is completely in a weak position because they don't know what the family's finances are, the mediator will put that down as a foundation before you start having discussions. So a really good mediator will build the foundation and help everyone get to the point where they can start making those decisions together. We talked about the different methods of mediation. One other sort of mediation do's and don'ts. When doesn't it? When it sounds brilliant. Why isn't everybody in mediation? There's a couple of reasons why.
You can only do that if you're someone who wants to play.
Yeah. I think if both teams want to come to the table.
If both teams want to come to the table and want to play, you can play. And if they don't...
And play by the rules.
Yeah, by the rules that the mediator sets.
Yeah, I think that's important.
That's really important. I was going to say trust, feeling that someone's going to be frank with everybody, including with the mediator. Also, sometimes, if someone's been like going out and dealing with all the finances and they know their business back to front, and the other person is really financially quite
in the dark.
There's a real power imbalance, and a good mediator can rebalance. Mm-hmm. But sometimes they can't, and sometimes one spouse will shout much louder and try for grab the attention. If it's a triangular sort of relationship, and if the mediator is good, they'll work with that. But sometimes there are mediators who work in pairs as well. So I know lots of mediators who will have a team of two, so that everyone is having a sort of a square conversation rather than a triangular one. So you can change the dynamic. And I know James is an awesome mediator, but I know mediators who are a bit more directional, a bit more holistic, sort of, because I know the people. Tone-wise, you need to have the right mediator for the right couple, because you know that we're all personality driven. We talked about fit. If I send some clients in with some mediators, it will just be they might as well not have bothered, and they'll be cross with me for even putting them in a position where I'm setting them up to fail. So again, well-connected lawyers know the right mediators for the right.
James Carroll to me, who's just been a lifeline.
He's great,
incredible, but also personality-wise for both my ex-husband and myself, but also very fair and kind, and a decent person. And
there are all sorts of lawyer,
but you've put in the show. We've put in the show notes how you can connect with the right mediator for you.
Yes,
okay,
exactly.
Thank you.
So you want to get divorced. Mediation
is first port of call, and it's something you can dip in and out of. So even if you even got the nuclear button of the court proceedings running, if you've reached a stage where actually you think mediation might crack it, you don't have to limit to a private FDR or an FDR that we talked about earlier. You say, actually, let's break out of that. Why don't you go to mediation and see if you can crack this? It's possible. Again, it's something you can use at the beginning, you can use it towards the end, you can use it in the middle. It's something that's a really helpful thing. But it really should be a first port of call. Why doesn't it work? Another reason, apart from power imbalances and knowledge. At the very beginning, this is something we talked about. At the early stages, you are emotionally vulnerable, super upset. Someone might have just landed this, I want a divorce on you from a great height, and you're not ready for it. Next week, let's go to mediation. You're not ready. You're just not ready. And is it a miracle that FDRs after 6 to 9 months often crack solutions for people? It's not, because people have had 6 to 9 months to adjust. Mediation is something you should keep the door open to and not shut immediately, because you may not be in the right headspace at the beginning to make any big decisions or be ready for the kind of compromises that the lawyers are asking you for. But 6, 7, 8 months in, when you're fatigued, you might feel a bit different because life has stabilized. Stronger, absolutely. You've found your strength. You're not being gaslit in the same way. You're through that. You're through that stage of being tearful and disempowered, and
you said something to me.
Gaslit.
You said to me, as a professional divorce lawyer, top of your game, you see a lot of people who are bullied and bullies, and that really rang. That was a ding, 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 ding. It's power, isn't it? So is it about how do you get that power back? Is it time?
Well, it's perceived power, isn't it?
Perceived power. Is it time? Is it arming yourself with the right people? How do you get the power?
Well, this is where you're the expert at it. This is where you guys, showing how to do it, and your other guests that you've spoken to.
I definitely think empower yourself with knowledge, with amazing people, with community, but also I do feel. If it was, I always tell my children, I've got twin girls who are 13, 14, I'm like, prison rules, girls, prison rules, because everything, and I do feel like if you're in a prison yard, I feel that's what you do. Like, I want to be with Debbie. I want to be Debbie's gang, because it is, but you deal with bullies all day, don't you, really?
I deal with bullies, and people who are being bullied. And
it is
everybody's got the right to be heard and the right to a fair outcome. And it's how you need to be supportive and kind to people, but be able to point out where they need to reframe, think about how they're approaching something, because actually bullying somebody isn't necessarily the way to achieve what the outcome that actually you want to achieve. In fact, for some people, it's completely counterproductive.
Yes,
so you have to be
sometimes
careful.
The nicey.
It's really interesting.
Can work.
The outcome. You just said something that went. Because sometimes you're getting a divorce and you have two people who might want two different outcomes. You might have someone who wants freedom and they want the money to have freedom, but you want the other person might want to punish the other person. And actually, they don't care if they spend £1 million because that's the fun. So how do you...
That's what we were talking about, the third reason why people go to court. There's valuation, there's principles, and then there's conflict. Just conflict.
vindictiveness.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
But that's very rare that people would take it that far. So,
Because of
people often think,
Yeah.
this is a really important thing from what you were saying earlier. We were talking about sort of affairs and behaviours.
Yeah.
People often say they've had an affair, therefore they are untrustworthy on the personal basis, which I understand. But then they go, and therefore they're going to cheat me on money. They're not going to be fair about money. These things don't actually necessarily flow from each other. Just because someone will go and have a relationship with someone else behind your back, it doesn't mean they're going to screw you on money. Okay? So you have to be careful about conflating those things together.
I think that is a really common conception that, like once a cheat everywhere.
You'll cheat everywhere.
Yeah, and actually they won't necessarily, and
also they might feel very guilty. Want to give you lots of money.
That's
they
also
might.
true.
Yeah.
But
they might not.
You have to be careful with your assumptions, and a lawyer should be sort of saying, okay, let's take it back. Is there any evidence for this? When you're saying they're cheating you.
Cold blood.
Yeah.
You are the cold blood in a hot boiling.
But we're back to mediation. So there are lots of scenarios where there are those anxieties, but just because somebody's had an affair doesn't mean you can't mediate to try and sort something out. But it's finding the right mediator to help you. Can I talk about sort of, other than mediation, the next process option?
What's the next level?
There's collaborative law.
Yeah.
Okay. I am a big fan of this. It's not mediation.
What is it?
Yeah.
What is it? That's a very good question.
Collaboration law.
It is collaborative law. Collaborative law.
Collaboration. I do carry out for work.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Interesting.
We love you. At the High Court.
Yeah. Excellent. We need to get you as a sponsor.
So collaboration law. No, collaborative
But
law.
it's very firmly out of court resolution. Okay. Always better, because again, we talked about court means that a judge takes the decision for you potentially. Collaborative law, you are going to take the decision with your soon to be ex-spouse. And when I mentioned collaborative law to you before, you said, can exes work together? What does it mean? It means each of the spouses or the partners has their own lawyer, but the lawyers are going to work collaboratively together. How does that look? It means you don't do any letters at all. Nobody's allowed to write to each other or email. You only sit. Everything happens in the room. You have meetings all together all the time. Everything is discussed and decided in the room
like in
together.
The movies.
Is it cheaper?
Just like depends. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's not a shortcut. It's not going to be more expensive. The way it works is you would hope.
You like working like that?
I love it because there are no hidden agendas. You have a couple who are, even if they now don't want to be married, it doesn't mean they can't talk about what's important to them in terms of children, house, money. The meetings happen. You have the financial disclosure. You talk about that. If there's something that needs to be valued or done, one of the lawyers rings up whoever the value is going to be, say, come to our meeting. Everyone sits in the meeting. So there isn't civilized face to face. So you're all in control of the information flow and everybody in together. So the valuer of a house will come into the meeting and say, I'm valuing the house at £500,000. And someone will say, okay, why is that? And then we'll all talk about it. And is that right?
Nice.
Now, at court, you never do that. You'd write letters backwards and forwards about who's going to be the valuer. The valuer would do a report. You arm's length. Also, things like, money and pensions. Again, you get the people in the room let's talk about it. Yeah. And the buy-in from the lawyers is that if you don't get a deal around the table, you have to sack those lawyers and go to other lawyers to take it to court. So the lawyers are absolutely baked into trying to settle this in the room because they know they're going to be if you don't do it.
So the stakes are high for the.
Absolutely, you want the deal.
Let's just get this deal done.
So
how do you get to this point? What do you say to your lawyer?
Your lawyer should offer you. The lawyer has to be trained as a collaborative lawyer.
Right.
That's another speciality.
It's a specialism within family law. So there's a handpicked number of us who are trained as collaborative lawyers.
So is that a question to ask?
Yeah, are you a collaborative lawyer? Yeah, absolutely. And then,
I mean, Jesus Christ, Lizzie, this is like our lives. Thank you.
And
Thank you. Do you lecture? I'm not saying. I'm being really serious.
but this is teaching. This is teaching. So
thank you.
So I mean, this shows how much.
Ignorance.
Yes, I mean we're both going through this, obviously,
we are in the
and
trenches.
it's a fantastic option where
I think
you can both talk and you want to try and agree a deal outside of court. You have to. You obviously have to talk to your client at first because you do not want to set them up to fail because it's a high stakes process in that sense.
It's like a weird poker game, isn't it?
Yeah, but you know the clients when you see them. That when we have that discussion for that first hour and a half, you know whether collaborative law is going to be something you should at least discuss with them. They need to have their own collaborative lawyer. So the way it works is before the meetings, the collaborative lawyers and the clients will work on the agenda. Mm-hmm. And then we all go through the agenda together and talk about it. No hidden games. No, I want £10, so I'm going to offer
£1.
12 in the hope I'll get 10.
Oh yeah,
so you wouldn't come in and say I want 12 because you want 10. You come in and say I want 10, and I would come in saying I'm going to offer you 1. I'll come in saying I'm prepared to go to 4 or something like that. We would actually have an open discussion. It's real.
So it's not so much of a negotiation.
Exactly.
There's no bluffing.
There's no bluffing. This is the real conversation. It's all still within that privileged environment.
This should be law. That this is how it should be.
It's a fantastic process. It's not for everybody. So on the show notes, I've done a podcast, my own podcast. Wow. I don't do those very often, but Stewarts as a firm has a podcast series dealing with all of the process options and all of the background. So if you don't want to read the resources, you can listen to 10-minute chunks of time. There's a whole podcast about collaborative law and how it works. But you hope to have 3 or 4 meetings. The first one is introduction, finding out what's important to people. And what's really important is people come into these meetings with something called an anchor statement. And that means they have a prepared what's important to me statement that they share in advance. And actually they read their statement, their spouse reads the statement, and you pull together the commonalities. Okay, you've both said that this is what you want for your children, that this is what you want. So you start with where's the shared ground.
It's called an anchor statement.
An anchor statement.
That's actually probably a good thing to do.
You come back to it.
Anyway.
Like for yourself, like write yourself a personal anchor statement.
Yeah.
And have that whatever process you do. That's probably a really powerful thing to do.
It's incredibly powerful because it's the first time that they actually hear from each other as separating parents or spouses, what's really important. And it's such and
not mudslinging.
Not mudslinging. Yeah. It's positive. It's what do we want to achieve from this process? And a lot of the common things you hear is want to be able to communicate as parents, want to feel that, we both respect each other and that we haven't actually spent this process hitting each other around the head with lawyers. It's a really powerful thing. Then, so you have a meeting where you talk about the financial disclosure. Then your next meeting is straight onto the, okay, what could the outcome be? And the lawyers are there because they're there to talk to you about, guide you as to what the outcome could be. And where you have 2 lawyers in the room who are working together as a team because they're not representing. Let's take you as spouses. If I had my collaborative partner lawyer here, you shouldn't be able to tell who's acting for who because the lawyers are there to share their knowledge with both of you. So actually, the lawyers will debate about how things can be done in front of the clients so that the clients can hear the kind of discussion that you might have. And that really unlocks some doors because the clients will then step in and say, well, I'd really thought this and that. But it's a conversation around the 4 of you at a table. It's super powerful. If people can, it's intense because
flash it out.
It's in the room. Obviously you can take breaks and go outside and you kind of do, but the buy-in is we're not going to court. And these are the lawyers that we trust to sort it out.
Do you go until it gets done? Is it like 3-4 hours or is it an hour session? Or
you never do more than 2 hours at a time because it's just too tiring. It's too intense. But how quickly you have these meetings depend on when the clients want to do it. So you might have a gap of a couple of months. You go at the speed of the slowest person. So if someone wants to move quick for a particular reason, because they're being strategic, then maybe it's
Want
not
to
the
get
process.
remarried.
Want to get remarried. There are reasons why it wouldn't work. But if you have time and a meeting of minds and it's a super,
I mean, this sounds amazing.
it's a really good, powerful process that people should think about.
I had no idea. I've never heard of this.
It was something that we were first trained in back in 2006, and quite a few people, certainly in certain regions of the country, there's a lot of collaborative law about. So in Cambridge, there's a sort of real hotbed of really brilliant collaborative lawyers. In central London, there's a few of us. It's a real skill, though, because you have to really care for both clients.
Yeah.
You are representing your client, but you're caring for both and for the family.
It's more like a business deal.
It's never a business deal in family law. It's never a business deal. It's all about fairness and actually everyone being able to live with the result and kind of move on without looking back really like, oh.
No regrets. Is that you've done a good job when there's no regrets.
Yeah.
That's a really good marker, isn't it?
When you come out,
You're
exactly.
Like, no, it's okay, it's fair.
There's one more, isn't there? One more option.
Arbitration.
Before you get to the
arbitration. So when we talked about mediators or coaches,
nothing to do with trees.
It does sound good. I love it because you have arbitral awards, which also sound very sort of spacey. I like that. So we thought a mediator is a coach, an arbitrator is a referee. So an arbitrator is just going to do the job of a judge, but on a private basis. But because the court backlogs are so huge and because the time that these judges have to deal with cases is so limited, if you can afford it, and this is not for everybody, obviously, you can take it private. You can take it private. It's a private system. We talked about why.
Is it different to a private judge?
It's the same thing.
Same thing.
Okay. So it's
the same thing, but you can move in and out of an arbitrated system. So, for example, you don't have to do the whole thing in arbitration. You can buffet it. You can pick and choose. So, if your first appointment is not listed until November, you might say, "Oh my God, that's just the housekeeping appointment in November." You can do a half hour in front of a private judge.
Oh, that's so interesting.
And these orders that are made have exactly the same force as a court order. So it's as formal and as important
so they have
as
the power to enforce them.
Absolutely. You can enforce them. They can be appealed. They are exactly the same as court orders, but they are private. They can be quicker. You have your assigned judge. Yeah. They're private.
Is it
the other thing is...
Again, is that expensive?
No. Well, it depends. It depends.
Yeah.
A first appointment... It's not going to be anything like that cost. The FDR, that was the cost that we talked about. And a final hearing is, sky's the limit. But they are flexible. Like mediation, you can move in and out. The other thing to say about arbitration is at the moment, or not at the moment, the law has changed. Transparency and openness in the family justice system is super important. Reporters can now come in, listen to cases. Reports can be made of cases. So it can be public if you go into a family court hearing now. Not the private FDRs, not the FDRs, but any other stage of the hearing can be reported. Arbitration, publicly reported, absolutely. Named, shamed, the whole 9 yards, the nitty gritty. Children are anonymised and protected.
I'm just thinking about the children.
No, but if
children are anonymised, but if your mum and dad's names are in the papers, it's quite difficult. Now,
no, but I'm not being funny. If you are a private person up against a celebrity and you have no power and you can, that's not a bad thing, and vice versa.
That's not something.
That's not a bad.
That's a personal choice, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the whole point of it is actually not to kind of fill the red tops. It's actually to let people know and understand what the hell's going on in family courts. What are they doing? How do they reach these decisions? We've talked about people don't have information. Actually, it's good. What does get reported? Most of the stuff that ends up in the red tops. What should be reported? A lot of the stuff that happens in day-to-day lives and marriages.
But behind closed doors is never good. Like, you know what I mean? That Victorian...
Another encouragement to settle. Yeah. But arbitration is completely private. So if you have the money and you don't want to be in the public system, there's a side door you can move. But so... It's useful for speed, it's useful for focus, it's useful for doing the important hearings. You can flip in and out of it, but it's not mediation, it's not collaborative law, it's not sort of settlement, it's decisions.
It's private healthcare dodgy.
Yeah.
That's fine. Amazing.
I mean, this has been so insightful and I've learned so much. I mean, I think one of the key things that I'm taking away from this is that there is a road that has many different sub-roads off it that you can pick and choose to go down and come back onto the main road at any point.
Yeah.
And I didn't realise that. I thought it's like you're on a tunnel vision journey.
It's not a track.
No.
It's not a railway track.
and
where you
you-
have to just go down.
You
You
can-
can get off.
But you have to be empowered to speak up to get off that track.
Yeah.
It's like you have to question, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Where is it going? This is what I said to you were my priorities at the beginning. What the hell are we doing in this place? Was there not another route we could have taken?
It's trekking up a mountain and you need a guide. It's like it's going up a mountain in the pool, and depending on your guide, you're going to end up in a valley in a crevice, or you're going to end up to the top.
Either way, it's a horrible journey.
At the top of enlightenment and Kumbaya fucking yard. That's what. And you're like, and it will be peace.
Yeah.
I think the top of the mountain is divorce and peace. And if how you get there is if you like, are you going to lose a toe from frostbite?
This is good stuff. I like this. Yeah.
You're going to survive. It's hard, but I think with you, Debbie, and the right people and the James Carrolls of this world, you're going to get to the top with everything intact.
Hopefully intent.
And maybe a few camels, with Debbie, a few camels or donkeys. And some gold bullion. And so, Debbie, thank you. So, should we do a quick fire round?
Have we got time?
Yes.
What's this?
Fire
Where
round.
are we?
Okay.
I'm out.
You're out. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Debbie, let's just do it. Thank you. Debbie, thank you so much. You have been you are a shield maiden. That's how I describe it to all my friends. Debbie, don't start none. There won't be none, Chism. Shield maiden, thank you for empowering all of us. Debbie and I, Buzzy and I, everyone who's watching, it is so kind of you. This is just literally gold you're giving us all.
Yeah.
And it's very, very healing. And you are that kind of person. So thank you for being so sisterly and wonderful.
Oh,
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Demystifying the whole scary lawyers and the scary process. You've just made it so much more digestible and comprehensible. And
thank you.
Your time, we know, is
Expensive.
Thank you so much.
Oh, because you're fabulous. Please come and see Debbie if you need Debbie, if you can afford Debbie, or see one of her teams here at Stewarts.
Yes, I have a fantastic team around me. So there are 60 of us here. 60 of us at Stewarts at all different levels, but they are all
literally
fabulous.
And I have to personally thank Stewarts for being very kind and donating to my Dr. Ateh Jewel Education Foundation, helping Black and mixed heritage students in the higher education, and you've personally helped fund Oxford University, and I have to just say thank you so much. It makes me a little bit emotional, but you are changing lives and you're changing culture, and thank you, and you're helping me to do that as well, so thank you.
You're very, very, very welcome.
Thanks. So that's a wrap for this week on The Big D with me, Buzzy Randall, and
Ateh Jewel. Thank you so much. If you have loved this episode as much as we have, please like, subscribe and follow The Big D with Ateh and Buzzy, and we will see you next week.